Welcome, and please remain standing for the national anthem.
Stand up, flags over there. About face.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please remain standing while we observe a moment of silence. Please be seated. Do you remember that feeling? The sick to your stomach feeling? Worried about what to wear, where you're going to sit at lunch, or how to get from Miss Brailsford's biology class to Miss Rosa's class on time? I do, and it seems like it was only yesterday. I know we all felt the same way, and that was 4 short years ago. We are no longer going to have to move at the sound of a bell, to beg teachers to go to second lunch instead of third, and to worry about being late to Mrs. Tavar's class and getting a detention. Today, the class of 2013 is stepping into the real world. Just as you have reached graduation, the goal of the past 4 years, I know all of you will reach the new goals you are setting for your futures. As we prepare to celebrate this achievement and move forward, let's not forget the adventures we've had along the way. We overcame the troubles set before us, like the young adults we were becoming. If we needed support to get through difficult times, a fellow Laker was always there offering a hand to help. We have had 3 different schedules and as many principals during the last 4 years. There have been several changes with faculty and a transition from homeroom and study hall to academic options, or as many seniors would say, my go-home class. Yet, regardless of all the challenges we faced as students, we succeeded. We all made it to today. I, for one, am so grateful that we have made it to this milestone in our lives together. Every one of you deserves to be sitting where you are today, as you have worked hard to earn it. I want you to look to your left, look to your right. These are the people we grew up with, the ones we had our first communions with, played town sports with, and together became the Lakers we are today. This class is known for leaving everything they have on the field, for rehearsing for hours on stage, and for staying up late to pass that history exam. I am proud to be a part of a class filled with passion, determination, and drive to be the best it can be. Although it may seem as though today is goodbye, it is not goodbye forever. We have been a part of each other's lives for many years now. In times of laughter with our best friends, or in the scary moments that life has thrown at us, we were there for each other. This will carry on throughout our future as well. If you need anything through your journey through life, do not hesitate to call a Laker. He or she will be there for you tomorrow, just as she was yesterday. The celebration of our achievement begins this weekend with your families. Allow yourself a moment to express your gratitude to them for supporting you this far. I will be thanking my family, but that includes you all as well. You are and forever will be my Laker family, and I would like to thank you for everything you have done for me and for each other. I have high expectations for our class. I know some of you plan on joining the military or studying to be doctors, physical therapists, and engineers, and some even have goals of working for NASA. Whatever it is you choose to do, on behalf of the senior class officers, good luck. And remember, we started off lucky, we flew high, we became bosses, and we saw our own Laker best, but we know there is better ahead for us. Thank you and good luck. At this time, I wish to formally recognize and applaud the efforts of the Apponequet Band and Choir, led by Mr. Edward Ledwith and Mr. Dennis Robinson. Would you please join me in applauding these students for their time, effort, and participation in our graduation ceremony today? The senior choir members will now be providing a rendition of Go in Peace and Love.
Go in peace and love, live in joy and harmony. May our days be filled with song. Go in peace and love. Go in peace and love. May the sunshine light your way. May our roads be straight and long. Go in peace and love. Go in love. When darkness surrounds you, may you be safe and strong. For the deepest night gives way to light as it turns into dawn. To dawn. Go in peace and love. Live in joy and harmony. May our days be filled with song. Go in peace and love. Go in peace and love.
There are several foreign exchange students whom Apponequet was pleased to host this past year. Please join me in recognizing Pauline Emily Voss, representing Germany. Diego Ignacio Hassan Alvarado, representing Chile. Shiori Atsuka, representing Japan. Sophie Lingye, representing Norway. Please welcome the class of 2013 valedictorian, Miss Abigail Kudo.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming to support our class as we all take these significant, often wobbly steps across the football field and into the real world. Whether you are a mother, a brother, or a significant other, you are here for us as we have been for one another. Before you is a fine group of excellent people, excellent friends, excellent athletes, excellent students, excellent citizens. Now, I could go on and on about the importance of academic excellence, as is probably expected of me, but I believe that the scope of excellence goes way beyond academics. At the risk of sounding cliche, high school is, indeed, a time to find yourself. After 4 years of experimenting, trying new things, and branching out, you learn who you are by excelling in what you love. The concept of excellence comes from this sense of the word, by excelling in what you love to do. Contrary to popular belief, you don't need to be the best at what you do to excel at it. After 4 years of waking up early to go to school, you begin to notice what it is that actually gets you out of bed. When you start to think about why you get up every morning, what motivates you to accomplish this challenging task, you are one step closer to discovering what you excel at. Your excellence in this area is characterized by incomparable determination and wholehearted commitment. You excel with your heart, not necessarily with your body or even with your mind. Therefore, it follows that the nature of excellence is beyond just the cerebral. Once you find your area of excellence, you owe it to yourself to keep your heart into whatever you do. Webster's dictionary defines wisdom as, very simply put, good sense. To keep doing what you love is the easiest display of good sense. To find and to adhere to your own excellence is proof of wisdom. Herein lies the difference between knowledge and wisdom. The smartest person in the world is not wise if he or she is not totally committed to the pursuit of knowledge. In the same way, an excellent athlete must demonstrate wisdom by putting total effort and total heart into the sport. So, class of 2013, what's it going to be? With our whole adult lives ahead of us, we need to start demonstrating wisdom in all that we do. For as the proverb states, the way of life winds upward for the wise. Find what you excel at, academically or otherwise, and build your life around it. I leave you all with one simple analogy. Personally, as I start preparing for a big move across the country to college, I have seen how my home has become so symbolic of my life. As I walk through my childhood home, reflecting on the past, I see how the move to a new house in Arizona to make new memories is symbolic of my life transition from child to adult. With a new home comes a new phase in life. And as we leave our home at Apponequet to make new memories, remember this proverb. Through wisdom, a house is built. By understanding, it is established. And by knowledge, the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. So, my friends, take your experiences at Apponequet, acquire wisdom from them, and use this wisdom to lay the foundation for the rest of your lives. Thank you to friends and family for your support. Congratulations to the class of 2013, and to all, good night.
At this time, will all current students and alumni please stand for the singing of the alma mater?
Apponequet, alma mater, all hail to thee. We'll ever guard thy honor, and bright shall thy triumphs be. Apponequet, fair Apponequet, all hail to the white and blue. To knowledge, friendship, and industry, ever loyal, ever true.
Please welcome Josh Coe, the winner of the 2013 Charge to the Graduates competition.
Here we are, at the cusp of our adolescence, with wandering eyes envisioning all of our earliest memories shared and our separate futures that may come. Today, we have come to move on, and yet we struggle to hold on, remembering sweaty hands clenched to our homeroom seats and those first few awkward moments as freshmen. We look back at ourselves then and feverishly wish we could sit there now with the wisdom we have acquired. To be more diligent and focused students, to push ourselves in the last moment of that lost game, or to spend more time with our true friends who are always there. We would purge ourselves of every misgiving, miscalculation, and missed opportunity, if only to make the decision that now seems like the right one. So as we sit here on the verge of adulthood, we may hope to leave this all behind and look forward to this next chapter as if it were a new beginning. But to do so would be a mistake. What we did and didn't do here at Apponequet has made us who we are and given us each our own path to strike out upon. The lessons that we have learned here have helped to mold us, whether those lessons were learned in the classroom, on the field, or in the relationships that we have fostered. The people around us today have shaped our ideas of commitment and of passion and of friendship. We may have found our love here, or may find that it's been waiting for us out there. It is out there that a glimmer of Apponequet will be reflected in some aspect of our lives. Hereafter, when we have seen our dreams realized, we will see a shade of our former selves here and know fully that this was our path all along. As we each prepare to rise from our seats and look forward to the future, we must carry with us those lessons we have learned at Apponequet. We must take with us all those swelling memories that leave a lump in our throats. Shed any feelings of regret that linger, for these have helped teach us to live. We now see opportunity manifest itself in every aspect of our lives. We must take each and every chance, make 1,001 mistakes, taste all that is sour, all that is sweet, all that is bitter, and all that is savory. See that there is a lesson to be taken from each and every offered experience. Now, as I sit down and await my turn to be handed adulthood, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being a part of my high school experience. My friends, life awaits. Thank you.
Please welcome the principal of Apponequet Regional High School, Mr. David Patota.
Welcome, parents, family members, friends, and students, and of course, my favorite class of all time, 2013. It has been an honor and privilege this year to be your principal. It will be a year I never forget. Since you were sixth graders, during my first year in the district, I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with you. You were the first group to hear about my core values of respect, responsibility, and resiliency. And no group has practiced and modeled those values better than you. Never did I think I would have the opportunity to be your principal again after wishing you a fond farewell following your 8th grade year. Some people ask me questions about this. How did this occur? Was it because this is your favorite class of all time? Well, maybe. Was it fate that brought you to this moment? Perhaps. Was it Dr. Hunzinger coming to me in late summer, asking me to consider coming here? Something that I'll always be grateful for. However, I and just one other person know the truth as to why I'm here today. I can actually trace it back to an email I received about 3 years ago. The email read, "Dear Mr. Patota, I just want to let you know that before I graduate, I expect you to come to the high school and be our principal again. We need you and your core values, so please plan for that. Signed, your favorite student, Kate Racine." Well, of course, I wrote back. "Dear favorite student, are you nuts? Me, a high school principal? I miss you all dearly, but I do not think that is going to happen." Well, lo and behold, and Kate's mom can attest to this, Kate got her way. And I will always be grateful for that. So class of 2013, I wish you well and good fortune. Please know that you'll forever be my students. And if you need anything in the future, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you. As principal of Apponequet Regional High School, I attest that these candidates for diploma have met all the requirements for graduation as prescribed by the Freetown-Lakeville Regional School District Policy Manual. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present the class of 2013. At this time, I will ask Assistant Principals Ms. Beth Sylvia and Dr. David Worthley, as well as Class of 2013 Advisors Mrs. Jennifer Braga and Mrs. Jennifer Mata, to come forward to the receiving line. How am I going to read this and present this? They're going to come right through here? Okay. Did they stand up? They just come. Abby Leah Treweek.
You're giving it to me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Haley Nicole Mores.
When you read it, you have to say presented by, because I won't know.
Congratulations, son. Nicole Elizabeth Dion, presenting Mr. Patota. Thank you, honey. Congratulations. Coleman Stanley McCooch, presenting Mrs. Ferreira.
Oh, sorry. Abigail Rose Kudo, presented by Mr. Perry. Alexandra Marie Dordine, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Haley Rose Carcio, presented by Mr. Perry. Caitlin Maureen Hefner, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Jake Betancourt de Medeiros, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Frederick Vincent Saya, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Erica Carolyn Doyle, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Jennifer Lynn Vashon, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Joseph Hamilton Lane, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Megan Rose Yarmolovich, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Reed James Anderson, presented by Mr. Glenn.
Congratulations, Reed. Thank you.
Clarissa May Antellect, presented by Mr. Patoda.
Congratulations, son. Proud of you.
Nelson Salvatore Antipasti, presented by Mrs. Gibo. Lindsay Ann Ashley, presented by Mr. Patoda.
Congratulations. Very proud of you. Great job.
Samantha K. Babineau, presented by Mrs. Poirier. Amanda Elizabeth Barrows, presented by Mr. Patoda. Shit, sorry. I know I messed up. Garrett James Bayshant, presented by Mr. Patoda.
Congratulations, guys. Nice job.
Callie Brielle Bodwin, presented by Mr. Patoda.
Congratulations. Very proud of you.
Danielle Marie Bellevaux, presented by Mr. Bellevaux. Frankie Elliott Bender, presented by Mrs. Doyle.
You doing this one?
Nathaniel Lewis Bradley, presented by Mr. Ledwith.
You doing this one?
Mr. Ledwith.
Good show.
Joshua William Briggs, presented by Mr. Patoda.
Congratulations, Joshua.
Timothy William Briggs, presented by Mr. Patoda. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Congratulations.
Sorry. Danella Lynn Brower, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Allison Lee Buttermore, presented by Mrs. Lundy. Madison Rose Butner, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Joshua James Cabusio, presented by Mr. Cabusio.
Congratulations, Josh.
Paige Francis Campbell, presented by Mr. Perry.
This soon. Congratulations, Paige. Awesome, honey.
I'm sorry. Is that the one I got from? Yeah. Yep.
Caitlin Grace Kennedy, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Jenny Catherine Carden, presented by Mr. D.
That's awesome.
Devin Rose Cardoza, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Jacob Edmund Karen, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Melanie Taylor Case, presented by Mr. Patoda. Brian Ralston Catalano, presented by Mr. Patoda. Lindsay Marie Cavallaro, presented by Mrs. Gray. Benjamin Thomas Chase, presented by Mr. DeMello. Andrea Lynn Chaput, presented by Mr. Patoda. John William Clausen, presented by Mrs. Tavares.
There you go, John.
Joshua Alexander Coe, presented by Mrs. Poirier.
Thank you.
Danielle Elizabeth Conway, presented by Mrs. Gray. Catherine Lee Correa, presented by Mr. Patoda. Dylan Raymond Carrero, presented by Mr. Patoda. Nicholas Joseph Kasha, presented by Mr. DeMello. Joseph Patrick Cowling, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Skylar Gerald Cowley, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Marissa Rose Krause, presented by Mrs. Bavin. Sean Edward Cunningham, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. William Standish Curtin, presented by Mrs. Tavares. Ashlyn Nicole Sapiga, presented by Mrs. Brailsford. Megan Ray Daly, presented by Mrs. Hartley.
We have another one coming up. Too. You have Dylan
Aaron Davis, presented by Mrs. Tavares. Amber Rochelle Dawson, presented by Mrs. Cass. Thomas Allen Delano Bankowski, presented by Mr. Patoda.
You bragged that one. Hey, you still got the right person.
Wow, that was a butcher of the day. Poor kid.
Dylan D. Moranville, presented by Mrs. Gray. Dylan Derek Desmarais, presented by Mrs. Tavares. Robert Edward D'Souza, presented by Mrs. Tavares. Matthew Gerald DeVito, presented by Mr. Patoda. Addison Jean Dubois, presented by Mr. Patoda. Nicholas David Durrett, presented by Mr. Patoda. Samuel David Dussault, presented by Mrs. Estrella.
Hold up, man. Okay, here we go.
Timothy Michael Dwyer, presented by Mr. Patoda.
Okay, let's see if I can do this better.
Jade Allie Elias, presented by Mr. Patoda. Edward Armis Aloma, presented by Mrs. Mickish. Rachel Ann Eugenio, presented by Mr. Patoda. Olivia Lee Fields, presented by Mr. Patoda. Caitlin Paula Fitzpatrick, presented by Mr. Patoda. Corey James Freitas, presented by Ms. Bowles. Jennifer Mary Fanzalia, presented by Mr. Patoda. Lynn Rachel Furtado, presented by Mr. Patoda. Nicholas David Gagney, presented by Mr. Patoda. Emily Louise Gagnon, presented by Mr. Patoda. Quinn Edward Gagnon, presented by Mr. Morrow. Brendan James Garafalo, presented by Mr. Patoda. Daniel Salvador Pereira Garcia, presented by Mr. Patoda. Elizabeth Ann Garcia, presented by Miss Gray. Michelle Elaine Garcia, presented by Mrs. Estrella. Brooke Kaylee Gaylord, presented by Mr. Lee. Justin Allen Godletsky, presented by Mrs. Ferreira.
Who's doing this one?
Mrs. Ferreira.
Mrs. Ferrer.
Kayla Lynn Gavoni, presented by Mr. Nassif. Emma Catherine Hayes, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Stephen John Hickerson, presented by Mr. Patoda. Tessa Zarin Isman, presented by Mr. Gallant. Jonathan Kale Jean Baptiste, presented by Mr. DeMello. Philip Joseph Jonkus, presented by Mr. Patoda. Melanie Ann Keene, presented by Mr. Patoda. Alexandra Elizabeth King, presented by Mr. Powers. John Joseph Crone, presented by Mr. DeMello. Tyler Stephen Larson, presented by Mr. DeMello. Jeffrey Thomas Lawrence, presented by Mr. Patoda. Darren Scott Levesque, presented by Mr. Sunnison. Benjamin Reed Littlefield, presented by Mr. Patoda.
He would have got it sooner. I could have skipped to meet him, you know.
Matthew Thomas Lazat, presented by Mr. Patoda. Jeffrey Wilson Lopes, presented by Mr. Patoda. Christopher Daniel Mahala, presented by Mr. DeMello. Tyler Martins, presented by Mr. Patoda. Wyatt Ray Mazidis, presented by Mrs. Sullivan.
Congratulations, Wyatt.
Jacqueline Marie McCallum, presented by Mr. Patoda. Kelly Elizabeth McCarthy, presented by Mr. Patoda.
Great job.
Alexander Ian McGurk, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Aaron Sidney Mead, presented by Mr. Patoda. Kyle Douglas Medeiros, presented by Mr. Nassif. Mark Ryan Mello, presented by Mr. DeMello.
Thank you.
Amanda Janelle Michaels, presented by Mr. Patoda. Casey Lynn Madura, presented by Mr. Patoda. Ivana Elizabeth Mills, presented by Mrs. Sylvia.
You still owe her detention.
Dylan James Miranda, presented by Mr. Patoda. Alexander Misudulakis, presented by Mr. Patoda. Patrick James Mont, presented by Mrs. Haskins. Timothy J. Moquin, presented by Mr. Patoda. Hope Shaylin Moran, presented by Mr. Patoda. Rachel Marie Morton, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Tyler John Moynihan, presented by Mrs. Moynihan.
She's coming.
Alexander Neary, presented by Mr. Patoda. Riley Amber Nobry, presented by Mrs. Pacheco.
Chico.
Brandon Joseph Noguera, presented by Mr. Noguera.
Congratulations, bro.
Nathan Evan Noguera, presented by Mr. Patoda. Jenna Lee O'Leary, presented by Mrs. Haskins. Jared William Orphan, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Vincent Charles Patty, presented by Mr. DeMello.
Good job, Vin.
How you doing?
These are sunglasses. They love them. Congratulations.
Baby Teresa Peel, presented by Mr. Patoda. Rebecca Taylor Pedro, presented by Mr. Patoda. Paige Marie Perry, presented by Mr. Patoda. Garrett Joseph Piazza, presented by Mr. Patoda. Alyssa Brianna Pierce, presented by Mrs. Lofstrom.
You go, Alyssa. Nice job, honey.
Looking at you, but there's not smiling. Hello.
Alexander Pimentel, presented by Mr. Patota. Margaret Ann Pino, presented by Mrs. Haskins. Olivia Jane Pink, presented by Mr. Patota. Wade Matthew Pinto, presented by Mr. Patota.
Is this me?
Yeah.
Way to go, bud. Nice job, man.
Reed Austin Pollard, presented by Mr. Patota. Christopher Ford Poudrier, presented by Mr. Ledwith. Jenna Elizabeth Price, presented by Mr. Patota. Thomas Constantine Potentis, presented by Mr. Patota. Caitlin Muriel Racine, presented by Mr. Patota. Thomas James Radley, presented by Mrs. Braga. Jennifer Rosemary Ravenel, presented by Mrs. Welch. Joshua Michael Rebello, presented by Mr. Patota. Megan Aggie Renault, presented by Mr. Patota. Jack Stephen Resendiz, presented by Mr. Patota. Gregory Albert Robert, presented by Mr. Sunnison. Xavier Richard Rogers, presented by Mr. Kuchar.
Good man. Good man. Congratulations, buddy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Timothy Philip Rowley, presented by Mr. Patota. Paige Alexis Rushton, presented by Mr. Patota. Adam Ronald Ryan, presented by Mrs. Sylvia. Nicholas Bradford Savard, presented by Mrs. Dessert. Lauren Margaret Chavone, presented by Mr. Patota. Christian Nicholas Michael Scripter, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. Melissa Seth, presented by Mr. Patota. Drew Daniel Sheehan, presented by Mr. Patota. Gregory Tyler Sylvia, presented by Mr. Sunnison.
Congratulations.
Katie Mary Smith, presented by Mr. Sunnison.
Sean Smith.
Sean Tyler Smith, presented by Mrs. Hewling. Yeah, this is you. Russell James Souza, presented by Mrs. Tavares.
Congratulations.
James Allen Souza, presented by Mrs. Souza.
Yes, yes, yes.
Karina Faye Sandring, presented by Mr. Rice. Joshua James Hedrick, presented by Mr. Patota. Olivia Delilah Texera, presented by Mr. Patota. Abigail Nicole Thomas, presented by Mrs. Tavares. Am I done? Okay. Where? Yeah, please. I got it.
Alexander Page Thomas, presented by Mrs. Ferreira. James Robert Thomas, presented by Mr. Patota. Alyssa Jade Taranati, presented by Mr. Patota. Chantel Ray Trombley, presented by Mrs. Poirier. Ariana Elizabeth Taraganese, presented by Mr. Patota. Lauren E. Vasconcelos, presented by Mr. Patota. Dylan Michael Verhagen, presented by Mrs. Dessert. Rebecca Virginia Viveros, presented by Mrs. Vitolas. Logan Thomas Lumsley, presented by Mr. Patota. Matthew Scott Weatherby, presented by Mr. Glenn. Brendan Joseph White, presented by Mrs. Maltese. Matthew Trevor Wolfer, presented by Mr. Patota. Robert Eaton Wyman IV, presented by Mrs. Jiba.
Is this?
Thank you.
Benjamin Caleb Young, presented by Mr. Patota.
This is an honor.
Taiba Khan Zahir, presented by Mr. Patota.
Ladies and gentlemen, will we please recognize the correct pronunciation for Timothy Michael Broder. Timothy, please stand.
Ladies and gentlemen, the graduates of the class of 2013. And now, Mr. Bertota.
On Tuesday, May 28th, 2013, Apponequet Regional High School proudly was awarded $131,000 in academic and athletic scholarships. I ask all scholarship recipients, please stand for acknowledgement. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand in recess for the wonderful class of 2013.
It's over. You can go home now.